Hello friends, welcome to the pharmacology classes online. So today we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic, that is renal pharmacology, that is drug acting on the kidney. So let's see renal pharmacology. So pharmacology means study of drugs. Renal means kidney. The drugs that act on the kidney we'll see in these topics. So first of all, we know in human there are number of kidney, how much? 2 in number. This is right kidney and left kidney. The function of kidney is, it is the regulatory organ, it is the excretory organ, it maintaining the hormonal balance. Okay, so kidney is the mainly regulatory organ. It is mainly regulatory organ. Regulation करे, it regulate the salt water balance. Okay, acid base, it regulate salt water. Next fluid, electrolyte balance, and the acid base balance, regulatory. Next one is the excretory. Function is excretion or excretory. What is excretory product of the kidneys? It excrete nitrogenous waste products. The product which containing nitrogen such as urea, uric acid, ammonia, creatinine. These are the nitrogen containing products which are excreted through the kidney in the form of urine. Okay, so next one is the hormonal function. Hormonal. So which hormones are activated by the kidneys? First one is the activation of the vitamin D. Vitamin D activated. Next, secretion of the renin and erythropoietin. These hormones are also secreted by the kidney, that is juxtaglomerular apparatus. JG cells secrete renin and erythropoietins. So what is the function of kidney? The main function of kidney is the urine formations. So let's see the mechanism of urine formation. Mechanism or steps of urine formation. Steps of urine formations. So in the formation of urine there are mainly 3 steps. First one is the ultrafiltration or filtration. Second step of the urine formation is the tubular reabsorption. This tubular reabsorption is also called selective reabsorption. Next, third one is the active tubular secretion. These all these steps are performed or carried out by the nephrons. So let's see this is the structure of nephron. So first, human kidney कितनी 2 in number, that is left and right kidney. Each kidney consists of 1 million nephron or 1 to 1.5 million, 1 to 1.2 million nephrons. So both kidney consist of 2 million nephrons. So as concern of the nephrons, we are millennials. So what is nephron? The nephron is the structural and functional unit of the kidney. So let's see the structure of nephron. This is the structure of nephron. This is Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. Next, this part is the PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. Next one is the loop of Henle. Loop of Henle. Next, this is the hairpin turn of loop of Henle. Next, this is the ascending limb. This is thick ascending limb. Okay, this is the thick ascending limb. Next, thin ascending limb, and this is the DCT. So this is the Bowman's capsule. This part is the proximal convoluted tubules. This is the descending limb. This is hairpin turn. Hairpin turn. This is thick ascending limb. This part is the DCT, distal convoluted tubules, and the last part is the collecting duct or collecting tubules. So these are the parts of nephron. Parts of nephron. So this process takes place. Ultrafiltration mainly takes place in the Bowman's capsule. Next, selective tubular reabsorption or selective reabsorption is mainly takes place in the PCT. In PCT, near about 70% of filtrate is reabsorbed. Okay, and next, this is the tubular secretion, active tubular secretion. The waste substance that are present excess amount in the body and which are not useful for the body, these excess and harmful substance are secreted actively into this tubular fluid by these cells. Okay, so this is the structure of the nephron, the parts of the nephron. So next point we will study the renal blood flow, cardiac output, renal blood flow, renal plasma flow, glomerular filtration rate, and actual urine formation rates. Okay, so first you note down this, then we will see the next one, that is cardiac output and other points one by one. So let's see the next point, cardiac output, renal blood flow. Okay, so first one is the diuretics. The drugs which act on the kidney are mainly diuretics. So what is by diuretics? First point is diuretics. Which drugs or what is diuretics? Diuretic means what? So diuretic means the drugs which increase the urine output. The drug which increase urine output, this drug is called as diuretic. Next, a similar term, that is natriuretic. Natriuretic. What is by natriuretic? Natriuretic means the drug which increase the loss of sodium in the urine. Which drug which increase loss of sodium in urine. So these natriuretics increase the concentration of sodium in urine. So sodium is followed by, or sodium drag out the waters. So it also increases the urine output. Hence, these natriuretics are also called as diuretics because they also increase the urine production or urine outputs. So next point, that is cardiac output, renal blood flow, and total renal plasma flow and formation of urine per minute. So this is the structure of heart. This is the heart. The heart produces cardiac output. So let's see the stroke volume. Stroke volume is 70 ml per stroke. Next, heart rate is 72 beats per minute. So cardiac output is equal to 72 into 17 to 72, that is cardiac output is equal to near about 5 liter per minute. 5 liter per minute. So from the heart there is a blood. This blood is come towards the kidney. This is the afferent arteriole. This is the afferent arteriole. This is the efferent arteriole. Okay. This is the structure of nephron. Structure of nephron. This is the PCT. This is loop of Henle. This is the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle. Thin and thick limb of loop of Henle. So let's see. The blood is coming from the heart. Out of total cardiac output, only 20% of cardiac output is passes towards the kidney. That is renal blood flow. So next point is renal blood flow. Renal blood flow. So renal blood flow is 20% of cardiac output. That is 1 liter per minute. 5 liter say 20% of 5 liter is 1 liter. Okay, that is 1 liter. So out of 1 liter, blood cells are 45%, that is 450 ml, and plasma is 60%, that is 55%, that is 550 ml. So this is the 1 liter of blood, 1 liter per minute. Out of 1 liter, 450 ml is blood cells. This cannot filter because blood cells are the larger in size, and 550 ml is plasma, and this plasma can filter. So renal plasma flow is 155 ml per minute. Renal plasma flow. So out of 550 ml, how much plasma is filtered from this glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule? That is, this out of 550, only 20% of filtrate is formed from the total renal plasma flow. So the 20% of the 550 is near about 110 ml of filtrate is produced per minute. Filtrate per minute, how much? 110 ml per minute. This is the production of filtrate per minute. So out of this 110 ml of filtrate per minute, the actual urine formation is here from the collecting duct. This is the DCT, this is the loop of Henle, this is PCT. So out of 110 ml of the filtrate, the maximum filtrate is reabsorbed from the PCT. Remaining is reabsorbed from the thick limb of ascending loop or thick limb of ascending limb, thick side. Remaining little one is the in DCT and some one is the collecting ducts. So out of 110 ml of filtrate, only 1% of filtrate is formed urine. 1% urine form. Only 1% of the urine is formed from the filtrate. That is 110, that is 1 ml per minute. This is the urine form. How much? 1 ml per minute. 1 ml per minute. So some drugs, that is the diuretic drugs. These diuretic drugs act on the nephron that alter the function of the nephrons. If any drugs which increase the urine output or produce urine 5% or 5 ml per minute, it will be the most powerful diuretic drugs in the world. Only 1 ml, if increase the 1 ml to 3 ml or 5 ml, it is the most powerful drug. Let's see if we form the 5 ml per minutes, that is 60 into 5, that is 300 ml per hour, 300 ml per hour. In one day, how much hours? One day, that is 300 into 24, near about 7 to 8 liter, near about 7 to 8 liter per day urine will be formed if you give the drugs which increase the urine output, that is 5 ml per minute. So normal urine output of the human, is, that is, this is 0.5 liter, this is 3.5 liter and above 3.5 liter per day, 0.5 liter per day. So if any person or patient who exceed the urine less than 0.5 liter per day, it is called oliguric or oliguria. If he or she, this patient increase more than 3.5 liter of urine per day, is called oliguria or oliguria, and this is the normal urine output, that is 1.5 to 2 liter. Let's see, if we produce 1 ml per minute, that is 1% of the total filtrate, 1 ml per minute. In 1 hour, that is 60 minutes, that is 60 ml per hour. So 60 into 24, near about 1.5 liter, that is ml per minute. This is the cardiac, this is the total urine output per day, that is 1 ml per minute, that is 60 ml per hour. So 60 ml into 24 hours, that is near about 1500 ml per minute, per day, ml per day urine is formed. It is near about 1 and a half and 2 liters. But this normal urine output is depend on the environmental conditions, fluid intake. If you take the 2 or 3 glass of water 3 to 4 times per day intentionally, then your urine output will be increased. Or if you doesn't take the water and you go outside the home in the hot conditions, so in the summer their urine output will be decreased, but maximum urine output in the rainy season and winter season. So environmental condition and your fluid intake also affect the urine outputs. So this is about the normal renal blood flow, urine output, renal plasma flow, glomerular filtration rate. This is the glomerular filtration rates. So per day how much filtrate is formed? Near about 180 liter filtrate is formed per day, but urine form is only 1.5 to 2 liter per day. That is 99% of filtrate is reabsorbed from the nephron by the different parts of the nephron, that is PCT, loop of Henle, DCT and CT, or collecting ducts. Got it? So this is about the normal process. In next point we will see the actual drugs, how drugs will act on the every points of the nephron. Okay, so first note down it, then we will see the next point. Okay, so let's see the nephrons with their sites of diuretic actions. So this is the structure of Bowman's capsule. This is the PCT, proximal convoluted tubules. Next, this is the limb of loop of Henle, this is the descending limb. This part is the hairpin turn. This one is the hairpin turn. Okay, next this one is the ascending limb. This is the thick part of the ascending limb. Next this is the DCT, and this is the collecting ducts. Okay, so let's see, this is the structure of nephron. Structure of the nephron. So first, here is the afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole. This is the efferent arteriole. This is afferent arteriole. This is efferent arteriole. This is the knot of capillaries present in the Bowman's capsule is called glomerulus. Glomerulus. So from the glomerulus there is a podocyte cells, and some gap junctions are present in the endothelial walls of the capillary of the glomerulus. So some filtrate is formed, and this filtrate is present or leak into this Bowman's capsule. So this filtrate is 100 ml per minute. So out of this filtrate, some part of filtrate is reabsorbed in this first part, that is PCT. Next, then this filtrate, here filtrate is isotonic, that is water and salt are absorbed. Here is the isotonic. Next, this filtrate comes into this descending limb, and this descending limb is impermeable to water. This descending limb is impermeable to the water, permeable to water but impermeable to the salts. Hence, it is permeable to water but impermeable to salt. Hence, in this descending limb, filtrate is hypertonic. Next, this is the filtrate. Here, filtrate is isotonic. Here is the isotonic. Next, this thick limb is permeable to salt and impermeable to water. Hence, here is the hypotonic. Here is the isotonic. Here is the hypertonics. So these points you are studied in the 12th class. Where is the filtrate, isotonic, hypotonics. This descending limb is impermeable to salts. Ascending limb is impermeable to water. Here is the absorption of, it is impermeable to water but permeable to salts. It is also impermeable to water but permeable to salts. And in this collecting duct, the reabsorption of water is dependent on the ADH and aldose ADH. Here is the ADH. If ADH is produced or secreted by the pituitary glands, then this ADH perform the function, that is, it increases the reabsorption of water from the late DCT and collecting ducts. So this is the first part, PCT. This is the second part, thick ascending limb. It is the second part. Next, this is the DCT. DCT is the third part, and next one is the collecting duct, is the fourth part. So the drugs are act in the nephron in these 4 points. First one is act on the PCT. Second one act on the thick limb of ascending loop of Henle. Third one is in the DCT. Fourth one is in the collecting tubules or early part of the collecting ducts. So let's see which drug is act in these points. So in first point, in PCT, air drug is the carbonic anhydrase. Inhibitors are act in this PCT, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Next, in this thick ascending limb of loop of Henle, here is the loop diuretics are act. Loop diuretics. Next, in the DCT, here are the thiazide diuretics are at thiazide diuretics, and in the collecting duct there is the potassium sparing agents. Potassium sparing agents, that is spironolactone and eplerenone. These are act in the collecting ducts. So we see the one by one classification of the diuretics. First one is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, second one is the loop diuretics, third one is the thiazide diuretics, fourth one is the potassium sparing agents, and one more drug which act over entire part of the nephron, that is the osmotic diuretics. Osmotic diuretics. These osmotic diuretics are specially given in the coma conditions or hemiparesis and meningitis condition. Why? These osmotic diuretics decrease the intracranial pressures, that is mannitol. This mannitol is the osmotic diuretics. Got it? This is the classification of the diuretics. We will see one by one how these drugs, what is the normal functions of what is the normal function of this nephron, how they will perform, and these drugs how they inhibit or act on the normal functioning of the nephron. Okay, so we will see one by one. First of all, we will see the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, then we will see the loop diuretics. But before the study of this effect of the drugs, we must know the normal physiology of the urine formation, actual process of the urine formation. So we see one by one. So first point, we see the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So write down this. Okay, so let's see the first class of drug and how they will act, that is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Carbonic, first class is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So you got, if you know the physiology, normal physiology, then how their drug act, then what they perform, how they act, what they perform, what is their effect on the normal condition of the body, and what is their uses, their side effect and contraindications. All these points you will learn by the heart in this lecture. So first one is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So first, this is the structure of the nephron, normal. This is the Bowman's capsule, this is the proximal convoluted tubules, this is the loop of Henle. Okay, so these all points we have learned in the before or in these lectures. So first one is this is the PCT. So this diagram we magnify here. So this is the loop of Henle. This is the Bowman's capsule. From this Bowman's capsule, this first part is the loop of Henle. This part is the loop of Henle. This is the loop of Henle. So I draw this only this part, and you know there is also another part. This is the loop of Henle, and from here this is the PCT. Got it? This is the PCT. This is the loop of Henle. In loop of Henle there are cells. These cells are the cuboidal epithelial with brush borders. Cuboidal epithelial cells with the brush border. This is the cell. Okay. This is the another cell. So I draw only one cell for our convenience. Okay. So this is the cell. So I will draw here this diagram. So you watch it very clearly. Let's see. This is the Bowman's capsule. This is the proximal convoluted tubules. proximal convoluted tubules. Okay, this is the loop of Henle. Loop of Henle. So first we have to learn how these drugs, how the normal function of the proximal convoluted tubules. So this is the Bowman's capsules. Bowman's capsule. This is the proximal convoluted tubules. Okay. So this part is the lumen. This side is called luminal side. In the proximal convoluted tubules, there are the ciliated epithelial cells. Ciliated epithelial cells. This is the cilia having brush borders. Brush border to increase the surface area for the reabsorption. So this is the one cell of the proximal convoluted tubules. So similarly, this is another cell also present. Here another cell is also present. So for our convenience purpose, I elaborate only one cells. So this is the one side of the cell. This is called luminal site. Luminal site. And this is called lateral site. This is called basal sites. So togetherly these sites are called basolateral sites. Basolateral site. Basolateral sites. One point I have to highlight here. This is the luminal sites. The luminal site have special types of proteins. Special types of proteins that are incorporated in the luminal site of the proximal convoluted tubule cells. This is the special type of proteins. Okay. Next, the another type of protein is incorporated in the basolateral sites. It means the two types of proteins are present on the sides of the cells, proximal convoluted tubule cells. The cells have two sides, luminal sites. Luminal sites have one type of protein, basolateral sites have another type of proteins. And these proteins are two separate proteins. Their function is also different from each others. So let's see from there. This is the afferent arteriole. This is the efferent arteriole. This is the glomerulus. And in the glomerulus there is a filtrate is formed. The filtrate is deproteinized plasma. Got it? Deproteinized plasma means the proteins, mainly major proteins or larger proteins, are not filtrate. Blood cells are not filtrate. Only small amounts of small electrolytes, small size of proteins are formed. So in the filtrate there is presence of sodium ions, chloride ions, water, bicarbonate, HCO3 minus ions. These ions are present. So in the luminal site of the PCT, there is a one protein, and that protein perform the function. It take the sodium from the luminal site. It take the sodium from luminal site and transport it into the cells, that is intracellular. It means this sodium is not transported towards the loop of Henle and into the urine. That is, sodium is reabsorbed here by the proteins. And these proteins, another function is it take one proton outside the cell into the lumen, in the lumens. Okay, it take one sodium from filtrate into the intracellular, and it push out, or one proton is transported into the lumen. That is, this is the antipode. Means एक अंदर जा रहा है और दूसरा बाहर आ रहा है, इसके बदले आ रहा है. Okay, this is the function of this protein. It is called sodium hydrogen transport. That is antipode. एक देना दूसरा लेना. काउंटर करंट मैकेनिज्म. काउंटर पे पैसे रखना, उसमें उसके हिसाब से इसका मार लेना. Okay, this is the antipodes. So this is the first function. Next, this sodium is present inside the cell, that is intracellular sodium is then more. So the cell are deficient in the sodium ions. So how they will be deficient in the sodium ions? So let's see, this is the another type of protein present in the basolateral side of these cells or proximal convoluted tubular cells. So this is the basolateral sides. On the basolateral sides there is the presence of this special transporter, and this special transporter use ATP and it take 3 sodium outside la, 3 sodium out, and it intake 2 potassium in. Hence, and it use ATP, hence it is called ATPase. That is 3 sodium 2 potassium ATPase pump. This 3 sodium 2 potassium ATPase pump is incorporated in the basolateral side of these cells, and these cells from this sodium from the intracellular space they are goes to the interstitial fluid, and from the interstitial fluid they are transported into the efferent arteriole. Hence these cells are deficient in the sodium. Hence there is no sodium or less sodium. Hence the sodium from the lumen is transported or captured from the luminal side into this intercellular space. Okay, this is the one function. Next point, this bicarb ion, HCO3 minus, the H plus and HCO3 minus, they are combine and form H2CO3. That is this H plus and CO3 minus, they are unite to form H2CO, that is carbonic acid. And here the enzyme work, the name of this enzyme is carbonic anhydrase. This is luminal carbonic anhydrase. This is the enzyme present on the luminal sites, and this luminal carbonic anhydrase, it forms the carbonic acid by joining bicarbonate ions and proton together. So this is the carbonic anhydrase, this is the enzyme. So let's see, this is the luminal carbonic anhydrase. Next point, this H plus and CO3 are combined and form H2CO3, and this H2CO3 bicarbonic acid is split down into the CO2 and H2O, in presence of carbonic anhydrase. Here is the enzyme. This is the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. This carbonic anhydrase perform splitting of the carbonic acid in the carbon dioxide and H2O, and this carbon dioxide is the lipid soluble. It transports this plasma membrane and goes into the intracellular, and this water is also transported into the cell. So this is the H2O. So in the intracellular or in the cell, this CO2 plus H2O, these CO2 plus H2O are joined to form H2CO3 in presence of carbonic anhydrase. There is also carbonic anhydrase. The luminal carbonic anhydrase split carbonic acid, and this intracellular carbonic anhydrase, okay, or cytosolic. This is the carbon anhydrase. Which one is the cytosolic carbonic anhydrase? Fuse carbon dioxide and water to form carbonic acid. Next, this carbonic acid again split down into the H plus and CO3 HCO3 minus, and this HCO3 minus from the cell or cytosolic is transported toward the interstitial fluid HCO3, and this HCO3 minus is ultimately goes into this efferent arteriole. So this is the normal functioning of these sites. Okay, so let's recap once again how it will act. Normal function, that is the sodium from the filtrate, sodium, sodium, water, chloride, bicarbonate. This sodium is transported from luminal site to the cytosolic sites by the pump. This pump or this protein, what is performed? It take one sodium from luminal site to the cytosolic, and from one proton is transported towards the luminal sites. Next, this proton and HCO3 minus this combine to form carbonic acid, and this carbonic acid is splitted with the help of carbonic anhydrase. Which one is the luminal carbonic anhydrase? Next, this luminal carbonic anhydrase split this carbonic acid into the CO2 plus H2, and this CO2 is lipid soluble. It easily transport or capture, or it is transported toward the cells, and this water is also transported. Hence, in cell or in the cytosol, this H2O plus CO2 are combined in presence of carbonic anhydrase. That is this carbonic anhydrase is the cytosolic carbonic anhydrase, and this form carbonic acid. This carbonic acid is split down into the H plus and HCO3 minus. This HCO3 minus is then transported towards the intercellular space. From intercellular space, it goes into this efferent arterioles. Okay. Next, and this H plus is again is circulate for the reabsorption of the sodium, and this sodium is also transported by the 3 sodium 2 potassium ATPase pump. This is the normal functioning of this PCT. But the drug carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, what they will perform? They block this point, and also this point. Then what will happen? If the carbonic anhydrase is bind, then it cannot split H2CO3. Okay, then H2CO3 goes into the loop of Henle, then DCT, and ultimately in the urine HCO3 ultimately जाएगा. So first क्या होगा? यहाँ पे ये स्प्लिट नहीं, यहाँ पे ये फॉर्म नहीं होगा, तो H प्लस फॉर्म नहीं होगा इधर. ये भी कार्बोनिक अनहाइड्रेज है, ये भी क्या होगा? नॉन फंक्शनल होगा कार्बोनिक अनहाइड्रेज इनहिबिटर की वजह से. सो देयर इज नो फॉर्मेशन ऑफ H प्लस आयंस. सो इफ H प्लस आयंस इज लेस, देन इज नो रिएब्सॉर्प्शन ऑफ सोडियम का भी रिएब्सॉर्प्शन नहीं होगा. नेक्स्ट, इफ आउटसाइड को H प्लस आयंस लेस हो गए तो HCO3 कंबाइन होगा, और HCO3 डायरेक्टली किधर जाएगा? यूरिन में. सो इन यूरिन देयर इज प्रेजेंस ऑफ HCO3 माइनस. नेक्स्ट, क्लोराइड. नेक्स्ट, लिटिल अमाउंट ऑफ सोडियम एंड वाटर भी जाएगा. गॉट इट? सो दिस इज द कार्बोनिक अनहाइड्रेस, फंक्शनिंग ऑफ द कार्बोनिक अनहाइड्रेस. ओके, सो लेट इफेक्ट क्या होगा? सो ड्यू टू द activity or effect of the carbonic anhydrase, in urine there is increased HCO3, that is urine is alkaline urine will produce. Similarly, diuresis, but diuresis is mild diuresis. So here sodium are also together in counter transport with the H plus. This is the one mechanism. All the different types of mechanisms are also present in the PCT for the reabsorption of the sodium. This is the only one mechanism. Got it? How carbonic anhydrase will affect carbonic anhydrase inhibitors? अगर कार्बोनिक अनहाइड्रेज इनहिबिटर हो गए तो ये ब्लॉक होगा, सो H प्लस आयंस नहीं फॉर्म हो गए. अगर H प्लस आयंस डिक्रीज हो गए तो इधर H प्लस आयंस नहीं आएंगे, सो सोडियम का रिएब्सॉर्प्शन नहीं होगा. नेक्स्ट, HCO3 के पास ये कंबाइन हो गए तो HCO3 किधर जाएगा? डायरेक्टली इनटू दी यूरिन. सो इन द यूरिन HCO3 माइनस आयंस इंक्रीज हो जाएंगे. अल्टीमेटली यूरिन विल बिकम अल्कलाइन इन नेचर, अल्कलाइन. ओके, सो लॉस ऑफ सोडियम, पोटेशियम का भी लॉस होगा, वाटर का भी लॉस होगा और यूरिन आउटपुट इंक्रीज होगा. सो यूजेस ऑफ दिस ड्रग, दैट इज which are the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, that is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are the acetazolamide. Example of carbonic anhydrase inhibitor is acetazolamide. This is the drug, it is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. If you want to detail, then go to the KD Tripathi by Pharmacology. They will give you the dose, how much dose will be given to the persons. Okay, BD, TID or QD or OD. Generally these diuretics are given in the morning, not in the night. Why? Because if any person take a drug diuretic in the night, then he has to be go washroom 2 or 3 hours continuously, 2 to 3 hours by repeatedly. Got it? So if his sleep is impaired by these drugs. So better time for the taking this drug diuretic is the daytime. So this is the function, that is alkaline urine. Agar if you increase the for urine production, in urine HCO3 minus will be increased, sodium will be increased, water will be increased. So ultimately blood pressure will be decreased because blood volume will be decreased. जब blood volume decrease होएगा तो blood pressure decrease हो जाएगा. Okay, so next point, uses of this carbonic anhydrase. This is the basal address. Okay, uses. So first use is the glaucoma. What is glaucoma? Increase in intraocular pressure. Increase in intraocular pressure is called glaucoma. So this is used for the decrease intraocular pressure. This carbonic anhydrase decrease intraocular pressure. First. Second one is the alkaline drug poisoning. Alkaline urine in acidic drug poisoning. Acidic drug poisoning में क्या होगा? अल्कलाइन यूनिट फॉर्म होगा, so they will be useful to alkalinize the urine in the acidic drug poisoning. To alkalinize the urine, this is the use. Third use of this drug is the acute mountain sickness. Acute mountain sickness. तो क्या करेगा? सो दिस ड्रग विल इंक्रीज द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द cerebrospinal fluids, some drugs. So it is useful for the acute mountain sickness, and it is also used for the miscellaneous, that is in the congestive cardiac failure. These drugs are also used. This is the uses of these drugs. Next one is the contraindications. What are the contraindications? Contraindications means in which condition these drugs should be harmful to the patients. So first one is the liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis. Why? Because in liver cirrhosis there is a production of ammonia, and this ammonia cannot be excreted if these drugs are taken. That is liver cirrhosis or liver disease. Next one is the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Second one is the COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Why? Let's see. In COPD there is an increased acidosis in our body, so alkalosis in our body. If we take these drugs, if we take this drug, then urine will be alkaline. If urine is alkaline, then the body condition will be acidosis. Hence, in COPD, if we take this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, then metabolic acidosis will increase and worsening the condition of the COPD. Hence, it is the contraindicated. And ADR, what is the adverse effects, itching, rashes, nausea, vomiting, these are the adverse effect of these carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, so I hope you got these points, that is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So this is the end of lecture. In next lecture we will see the loop diuretics. Okay, so we will stop here.